Hello, this is Mary again and again and again. I'm saying that because this is Dreamy Goat Design's 20th video. We've gone through 2 groups now and 20 videos. I'm just so amazed. This video is on dyeing with madder root. And I just want to tell you that I have kind of a love, quasi-hate relationship with madder. And that's because, well, it's the oldest dye stuff known to humankind. It has an ancient history. But the reason why I have mixed feelings about it sometimes is that this little root here is basically smarter than I am. Madder root is a very complex dye. It has at least 15 chemical compounds in it. In this little dried up piece of wood, 15 compounds that yield different colors, okay? So there's so much you can do with madder root, and there's so much that I don't know, okay? That's why sometimes I have mixed feelings about it, because really it is smarter than I am. So I'm approaching this particular dye stuff and this particular study group as a student myself, okay? I don't profess to know a lot, but I will share everything that I do know with you. And I also want to, at this point, say to the group as a whole, there are many of you out there that I know who grow your own madder, prepare your own madder, and dye absolutely exquisite colors with madder. Beautiful reds, just jaw-dropping Turkish reds. So if you have already posted them on the previous study group, which looked at yellow, please post them again, because they are just... everything you know is so informative. I would like to learn more, and I know the group as a whole would be hungry for what you guys know. So, to begin, first of all, let's take a look at the root itself. Here it is, very unassuming. And here it is ground up. Okay, I've seen it a lot finer. In fact, what you will be, if you have ordered this through me, your ground madder root will be finer. And here it is soaked. Okay, now there's a huge difference though in color, is there not, between this one and this one? And I'm sorry, I don't have any dried, finely ground madder root of this sort to show you, because I've given it all away within the group. So I've run out of it as of this morning. So anyway, what I wanted to say is this madder root, which is this, is what's called ruibia tinctoria, and it is mostly considered a turkey red, okay? And this one, which is distinctly browner, is an Indian madder, and it is called ruibia cordifolia, I should say. And ruibia cordifolia is what we are using in the group. So I'll talk a little bit more about this. But let me say now too that while I have been dyeing with madder for a couple of decades now, I needed to get out of my box. So in this group, I'm trying a brand new set of instructions with some pitfalls. But I am loving this set of instructions. So in the post, you will find 2 sets of instructions. One that I have used for decades, really, and then the second one, which I'm using for the first time this weekend. Okay, so let's take a look at what I have done in the past to get an idea of what kind of oranges you can get. Here is your standard madder orange, which I think is lovely. You may not want a lot of it, but a little of it is just a real picker-upper. This one, basically the same color, is on 50% Bombex silk and 50% merino, and I dipped it in the madder pot, okay, leaving some of the white, a lot of the white, hanging off the edge of the pot. I did that so when it's spun, it gives kind of a half and half. You know, those orange and vanilla ice cream bars would give this look to spun yarn. This little baby here, I think, is just Blue-Faced Leicester, but it is 100% wool, and I did get some really nice, deep, dark reds in here. I chose to keep it mottled, thinking that maybe spun up It would also continue with this yellow, which is something I had dyed before and it was too light, so I overdyed it with the madder. I don't think, to be honest, spun up, it's going to show much of this. It'll all blend together. But notice the difference. My point is that madder will give you different results depending upon different handlings. So I can't guarantee exactly what color you're going to get. This one is a little misleading because while I love it, it was dyed on a honey-colored tuss of silk, which affects the color. But isn't that beautiful? Kind of a burnt orange. Now these are success stories, but I want to show you things that aren't unsuccessful, but they may not be what you want, and they're certainly not what I'm hoping you get in this group. Here is a terracotta madder root, dye I should say, and it's got actually a little bit of black on it for whatever reason. I think I like this, I'm not sure I like the black spots, but I like the color, but it's not what I want for the group. And this one here is just perfectly awful. And I really, to this day, I'm really not sure what I did wrong. But tomorrow, when I show you the results of our dyeing today, I'm going to show you also how to fix this. So if the absolute worst should happen sometime down the road, and you come up with a color like this after all the work you've done preparing your dye, I'll show you how to make it into something quite, well, a lot more palatable. Okay, so let's talk about the new process, the new set of instructions that I followed, and I'm really happy with them. The first thing you do, let's come back to this ugly little thing, this little pot of sludge. You soak it, and you soak it overnight. You soak it in tap water or water that is definitely not soft, not distilled. If you use your well water, be sure it doesn't have a lot of iron in it, or you will pull up a really browned orange. But not only do you use hard water, but you use 100% weight of goods. So if you're dyeing a pound of fiber, you will be starting with a pound of the madder root. Okay, that's easy. Now here's where the first new thing came about. In my earlier procedures, I always strained the next day, after soaking for a day, I always strained the madder root out and had just the liquor. But in this new recipe, you put madder root, the mass of sodden root, and the liquor it had been, the water it had been soaking in, and you top it up, of course, to wherever you want it. This is your dye bath now with the root in it. So my first mistake was I just dumped it all in and said, oh, this is cool, and then realized I hadn't contained the roots in some sort of a fine mesh bag. So what that means is that you're dealing with a lot of sediment floating around in your dye bath, which of course sticks to your fiber. There's a way to remediate that up to a point. Okay, so what I did once I realized this was all in here, a big mess, I got this. Okay, one of them is in here. Just a canning, whatever you call these. I turned it upside down and I attempted rather feebly to put mesh bags over it. The idea being that the root would be underneath and the fibers would be on top. Well, that sort of worked and sort of didn't. But I have this here. I have not yet, in my steps, I have not yet put the fiber in. Instead, I add citric acid. And I add, I think it's a teaspoon per pound. What I dyed, because I was running out of fiber, I dyed only 9 ounces of fiber, not my usual pound or 2 pounds of fiber. And 9 ounces of fiber is basically a little over a half of a pound. So instead of a teaspoon, I did only a half a teaspoon. This is what a 1/4 teaspoon of citric acid looks like. This is what a half teaspoon of citric acid is. I pour boiling water on it, I stir it up, and I put it in here. Remember, acid equals orange. And so what I'm doing is I'm putting more, I'm heightening the acid, the pH. Excuse me, technically I'm lowering the pH by heightening the acid. I think it's like 3 to 4 on the pH scale, which is really quite acidic. I put this, once dissolved, into here, and then I slide my fibers in, and I simmer it at 140 to 160 degrees for 45 minutes. And when you first look at your fiber, you think, this is horrible, this is never going to work. And then, wow, it shifts, and it comes to orange. And I'm going to show you this in just a minute, but I'm going to keep you in suspense. After 45 minutes, you need to make sure your water is hard enough, and if you're in doubt, now is the time to add calcium carbonate. And again, it is a teaspoon, approximately a teaspoon per pound. So I put in, let me just show you what it looks like, very soft, powdery, floury chemical. Okay, there it is. And I put just my half teaspoon in, because I know my tap water is a little hard, but it's not a lot hard. And so I put it in here, and again I simmered for another 45 minutes at 140 to 160, 165 max at this point. And now it's ready to just sit overnight. Now let me show you what I have, and I'm going to come back and address a few details that I might have glossed over. All right, if you want to come forward a little bit, let's take a look at this. Well, first of all, just looking, you can see there's debris in there, okay? Debris, sediment, which is going to get onto the fiber. But let me show you what I've got. So this real success is the orange. Is that lovely or what? And of course you're saying, oh my God, look at all that stuff in there. And I'm saying the same thing too. A lot of this will flick out once the fiber is dry, but I'm not sure if all of it will. I'm thinking this particular Targhee combed top will not go on sale. I'm thinking I'm going to spin it, and as I spin it, I'll flick out the last of the little fine madder root sediment. But I love the orange. No, I love this recipe. And here, if you want to look at mohair, what it did to mohair, check this white mohair out. Fabulous. And here is a dark gray mohair that when it's dry, it'll really show up the red. It does already. But again, look at the debris. So that was a rookie mistake. I seem to be making a lot of them in this group, but that's what happens when you're learning something new. You do make mistakes. So let me show you a couple of things. If you ordered materials from me, you got the madder root and you got alum. You did not get tartaric acid, and you did not get the citric acid or the calcium carbonate. And there's a reason for that. These guys are so, you require so little, there's no reason to put this in a package and send it through the mail. You can just go out and buy them. Where do you get citric acid? Well, this is from a chemical company, and this is probably a pound anyway. You don't need to go to that extent. You can just go to your the aisle that carries canning supplies in either your local hardware store or grocery store, and you can get citric acid. And as far as the calcium carbonate goes, well, yes, you can buy it from a chemical company, but you don't even have to. You can just go to your medicine cabinet and use something like Tums. If you look on the back, it says that the active ingredient, which is calcium carbonate, you have 500 milligrams in each tablet. And I know I'm going to need probably 4 of these for a pound. Grind them up, of course. Everything. You reduce to powder, and then you add boiling water to it and dissolve it before you put it in your pot. I want you to look at something here, though, if you can, Roger. If you can look at this. I'm not sure you can see it. What I'm doing is I'm converting volume to weight. So I'm saying if I'm using, let's say a teaspoon for a pound, well, that's 3.9 grams. And I know that only because I looked at a chart on the computer. So if I know that I need approximately 4 grams of calcium carbonate for a pound of fiber, and I know each of these is half a gram, then I will use 8 of these, ground up and dissolved, and then put in the pot. Okay? There's something else I wanted to say too. If you use the roots, it is a really good idea to soak these for days, not just overnight. And then when they get nice and rubbery, and this is not rubbery of course, stick them in a blender that is basically dedicated to your dyeing studio, and grind them up even further because you want to really expose as much surface in the root as possible. Okay, so let's see, what have I not covered? Well, why don't you come over here and we'll just review what you do, and then I think that's going to be it until tomorrow. For a pound of madder root at 100% weight of goods, you will ultimately use a teaspoon of citric acid and a teaspoon of calcium carbonate if your water needs hardening. You're going to soak the madder root in a mesh bag overnight. Whoops. Then use the soaking water and the root mass as your dye bath. You will add at that point your citric acid. You'll simmer for 45 minutes and watch it. Don't let it get above 160 because you'll end up browning your beautiful orange. And then go for another 45 minutes, at which time you add your calcium carbonate. It should be your water is not already hard. You will add it. You continue simmering. Don't let it get above 165. And then let it cool overnight. Now I'm going to show you tomorrow what these look like. Hopefully a little prettier than what they look like in here. Less dirty. And I'm also going to show you what you might want to do if for some reason something is off and you get a color like this. That's not going to happen, but this is just a what if down the road. And I think that's it for this video. If there's anything I've forgotten, we'll get it tomorrow. And thank you. And this is our 20th video, so thank you for watching. Bye.